everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. So today we're going to make a French pastry. We're going to make caneles, and this is a copper canele mold. Caneles have been made for centuries, for hundreds of years, and the recipe is very much the same. It's basically a crepe batter. The ingredients are milk, eggs, flour, sugar, with a little bit of vanilla and rum. They're absolutely wonderful, and if you've never had them, they're really a treat. They get very, very dark, and they have a beautiful crust on the outside. And in the center, it's very custard-like, almost like a flan. They're very unique and quite delicious. So let's first start talking about our ingredients and what you will need to make these caneles. By the way, these copper molds are beautiful, and I've had mine for many years and I treasure them. However, you can actually get silicone molds and make caneles out of that, so you don't have to have these copper molds in order to actually prepare these. So let's talk about the ingredients. I have here in my pot, which I have already heated up, I have 1.5 cups of whole milk. And to the 1.5 cups of whole milk, I've added 3 tablespoons of butter. Now, I did have some vanilla beans, so I actually used a half of a vanilla bean, which if you are going to use a vanilla bean, you want to split it in half and scrape out the seeds and put the pod and the seeds directly in with your milk and butter. However, they're very, very expensive right now, and you can substitute the vanilla bean for vanilla extract, which I do have here. The only difference is you will add your vanilla extract the same time that we add our rum. You would not put it in to heat up with your milk and butter. So 3 tablespoons of butter and 1.5 cups of milk, and you want to heat this up on medium heat just until it starts to actually just kind of sizzle around the edges. And if you do have a thermometer, it'll basically be about 180 to 185 degrees. And what you want to do after that is let your milk and butter cool down to 100 degrees, which is basically lukewarm is what you're looking for. So let me just, I've already heated up my milk and butter, and let's just see what the temperature is at right now. So right now we're still at 120 degrees, so we still need to let this cool a bit more. Let me just close this up. So in the meantime, while this is still cooling down, and don't rush this, you don't want to put your milk on high heat, you just want to put it on medium and just watch it just until it starts to kind of bubble around the edges, almost coming to a boil, but you don't want it to come to a full boil. So let's just leave this over here, let that cool a bit, and we'll talk about our other ingredients. I have a medium bowl here, and to it we will add flour, salt, and sugar. So it is 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of unbleached all-purpose flour and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, which I already put in here with my flour. And you will also need 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And just put that in your bowl. Then just take a whisk, and you just want to stir it so that it's pretty nicely incorporated, the flour and the sugar. And there we go. There are really very few ingredients to this recipe, and the batter, you can find many, many recipes for this canele, and they will all be the same ingredients. The proportions may be different, but the ingredients will all be the same. I do have a recipe from Daniel Balou for his caneles, and he actually puts a cinnamon stick into his vanilla bean and milk and butter, and actually flavors his milk with a cinnamon stick. But other than that, this is pretty much the main ingredients for a beautiful Canelé de Bordeaux. So you also need some dark rum, and we're going to add 3 tablespoons of dark rum once our milk is down to 100 degrees. So let me just grab a little cup here and measure it out. And by the way, if you did not use the half of the vanilla bean, you would then, 1 whole vanilla bean equals a tablespoon of vanilla extract. So you would use a teaspoon and a half of vanilla along with your dark rum. So let's put our 3 tablespoons of rum. And that's what makes these so unique. The flavoring of the vanilla with the rum is just beautiful. And oh, the smell is just intoxicating when it's baking in the oven. It's just wonderful. Okay, so our flour, sugar, and salt is here. And once again, 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose unbleached flour, 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. I have my 3 tablespoons here of rum, and we also have 3 large egg yolks, and that's probably another difference that you will find in various recipes for Caneles, is that some people will use say 2 whole eggs plus an egg yolk, or 2 egg yolks plus 1 whole egg. Here we're just using 3 large egg yolks. And I'm going to just take a little bit of this milk as it's cooling down, and I'm going to add it a little bit to my yolks and give it a little bit of a stir. I think I have a small whisk here, and I'm just going to incorporate a little bit of the milk here into my 3 egg yolks, and then I will add the 3 egg yolks to the remainder of our milk. Okay, this looks good. And now let's just check one last time the temperature of our milk and see how it's doing. Oh, great. Okay, we are right about there. Perfect. And of course, if you don't have a thermometer, all you have to do is just put the back of your knuckle right into the milk, and it should just feel lukewarm, which this does. So now I will take my whisk and just whisk in my 3 egg yolks. And Caneles are meant to be eaten the day that you bake them. They are at their absolute ultimate best the day that you make them. That isn't to say that you can't eat them the next day. You can certainly reheat them for about 5 minutes. Let the crust get nice and firm again on the outside of your cannelé, and go ahead and enjoy them. They do become more dense, and they're not as custardy and as light as they are the day that you make them, but you can certainly have them the next day. Okay, so we have our egg yolk in here, and now I'm just going to add my 3 tablespoons of rum. And at this point, I can fish out our vanilla bean pods. And by the way, you can, because this is so expensive, you can wash these and let them dry, and then put them in a container with some sugar, and you can make yourself some vanilla sugar that way, which is also wonderful for cookies and cakes. Okay, so let's leave that there. Give this one last whisk. All right, so now what you want to do is add 1/3 at a time of your liquid to your flour, sugar, and salt. So let's put in about 1/3 and give it a whisk. And you don't have to whisk this hard. You just really want to incorporate it so that you get a nice smooth batter. Oh, you immediately can smell the vanilla and the rum. All right, another 1/3. You do need to think about, this needs to be done ahead of time. So you can hold this batter in your refrigerator for up to 3 days, but you definitely need to let it rest at least 24 hours before you bake them off. You can't bake them off right away. You need to let the flour and the milk and the sugar all incorporate for 24 hours before you bake them. Okay, let's get our last bit in. And you don't want to whisk this hard because you're not looking to aerate it, to get too much air into this batter. Okay, get all the vanilla bean out, all that wonderful flavor. So you just want to whisk it until it's just smooth, and as you can see, I'm totally taking my time here. There you go, nice and light. Okay, your last step is to take, you can use a quart container if you have a strainer small enough to sit in it. I'm going to use this container, but what you need to do is pass the batter straight through a strainer so that if you did get any type of cooked egg white or egg yolk in the batter, it'll collect it in the strainer and it won't be in your batter anymore. And I'll come around and show it to you. Okay, so here you can see it's like basically kind of like heavy cream. So it's very thin, and hopefully you can see the beautiful specks of the vanilla bean in here. There you go. Okay, so your last step is to take a piece of saran wrap and place it directly on your batter and then refrigerate it for 24 hours. And as I said, you can refrigerate this up to 3 days. You can also freeze this batter and just put it in your refrigerator the night before and let it defrost in your fridge. Okay, so I'm going to just take the plastic and put it directly against the batter and put this in my fridge. Now, I have batter already made yesterday, so I will grab it so that we can actually make our caneles. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and in the meantime, let me just talk about the copper molds. I have 10 copper molds here, and what I want to do is put them in my preheated oven for 15 minutes to get these nice and warm before we actually put our batter in. So my oven is at 450 degrees. If you do have a convection bake on your oven, you can use your convection bake and you would do it at 425 degrees. I'm using just a conventional oven, so my oven's at 450, and I'm going to place these in the oven for 15 minutes. These copper molds will get quite warm, almost really hot. Okay, so I'm going to put them in for 15 minutes, and then we will actually put our custard in and start baking them. I will be right back. I just picked up our molds out of the oven. They were in for 15 minutes. So let me just set them down. Now, don't forget that these are very hot right now. So, in the meantime, here is the batter that I prepared yesterday. And it is important to take off the plastic. And you can even be sure to scrape anything that's on the plastic back in to your container. There we go, get all that beautiful vanilla bean off of there. And at this point, you don't want to whisk it. You're not looking to incorporate any air in here. Just take a flat spatula and just use your spatula until you have a nice smooth batter again. It doesn't take very long, just a few seconds, but you will be able to see it and feel it when it's completely incorporated. Okay, this looks pretty good. So you just want to wait until when you pick up your spatula, it's nice and smooth again. Okay, so one more step before we add our batter. I have a little bit of melted butter here, and it's important to use a dry towel to pick up each mold because they are warm. And you want to just take a tiny bit. Actually, let me just show you that I'm literally dipping my brush into the butter and then wiping it away. There's still plenty of butter on my brush. And you want to brush the bottom of your molds and all the way up the sides. And that's so that the cannelé, once it's cooked, will come out of the mold very easily. And I love to, while I'm brushing our cannelé molds, I'd love to share a story with you. I went to France many years ago with some very good friends. And we started off in Paris, and we went to Provence, and we also visited the Bordeaux region. And it was a very memorable, wonderful, wonderful trip for me. And we took a train from Avignon to go to Saint-Emilion in the Bordeaux region, and we went and spent the day there and had the most wonderful time. And that's where I saw the shop making these beautiful cannelés. And of course I had to buy some cannelé molds there to take home. And so we had to walk from Saint-Emilion a couple of miles down to where the train would pick us up to bring us back to Avignon. And it was 95 degrees, very hot. We get to where we have to get our train, and we are so thirsty. And there is absolutely nothing for us to drink. But we did happen to see a winery not too far from where we were picking up the train. So we went over there, purchased a bottle of cold white wine. They had no cups. They thought we were crazy Americans for sure. And we asked them to open the wine for us, which they were very kind and did. And we got back to our spot and used these cannelé molds to drink our white wine. And I have a photo here, and I have to say it brings back such great memories for me. And my very dear friends Cappy Lynn and Olga Kupchik and Jean Curtin, and we had a French teacher that joined us, Sylvia, who she was a savior because she spoke French so well, and we were able to really enjoy France and all the different regions that we visited. It was so fabulous. What a great trip that was. I'll never forget it. Okay, so we have them all done. Our batter is nicely mixed. And what's very important is that you fill these only 3/4 of the way. This batter will rise kind of souffle-like, but then it needs to be able to settle back down. So you don't want to overfill them. So we will do this 3/4 of the way. They bake at 450 degrees for 20 minutes. Turn your tray, just turn it around, and then lower your oven to 350 degrees for another 35 to 45 minutes. In my oven, they always take the 45 minutes, but everybody's ovens are different, so anywhere from 35 to 45. I will say that you need to understand that these get very, very dark, almost like very dark maple syrup, really dark, almost black. So don't panic when you see them that color. They're almost black here, and then the sides are a beautiful deep caramel color. So you don't want to underbake them. You also don't want to overbake them, but I think the 35 to 45 minutes is perfect timing. This is going back into the oven, 20 minutes, rotate your pan, and then drop it to 350 degrees for 35 to 45. I know with mine it'll be 45 minutes. And then we will show you these beautiful caneles. Our caneles are ready, and they're just perfect. They're a very deep, dark color, like a dark maple syrup, and you know that they're done. So then what you want to do is you can just tip them over on a cooling rack so that they can cool completely. You want these completely room temperature before you eat them. Okay, so what you want to do is just tip them over onto a cooling rack, actually, would be the best. And then let them come to room temperature. Once they cool, then you can serve them, and you serve them just the way they are. Let me just push this aside, and I'm going to cut one open so that you can see it. Oh, looks gorgeous. Okay, so let me come around so hopefully you'll get a nice view. Here you can see all the beautiful little holes. And the outside, it's very custard-like. It's like a flan. It's delicious. And then the outside is very hard and crunchy. There you go. And there is your beautiful canele. And they are so, so good. Thanks so much. Hope to see you again soon. And if you get a chance, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cooking with Suzanne, Fine Regional Cuisine. Have a great day. See you again soon. Bye now.